That's me, yeah.
Thanks.
Not even my bank card. Don't worry about it. I just found that. Hi, I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds, and I got to tell you, it's very exciting to watch Central Minex 24 unfold in front of my eyes. Great conversations happening, a lot of business being done, right? The whole area is being lifted by this incredible show. Thank you to our good friends at Raleigh Drilling Services for sponsoring this conversation. They understand that everybody's voice matters here, and everybody needs to be heard, so they sponsored this event and got everybody talking, which I think is just great. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Thank you very much. I'd happily do that. So my name is Kerri Deir, and I'm representing CCRW, which is the Canadian Council on Rehabilitation and Work. And what we do is we help people with disabilities find gainful and meaningful employment.
Wow. Okay, in all sectors, I'm assuming?
In all sectors. I'm an accessibility consultant, and I work with apprentices and Red Seal trade. So the initiative that we have right now is really trying to help people at any point in their Red Seal trade journey, from pre-apprenticeship right up to Red Seal exam designation, trying to remove barriers to help them get further in their apprenticeship.
Help me understand the barriers that people might face. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so great question, because there's a lot of diversity and disability. A lot of what we've been seeing lately, especially in the trades, are learning disabilities, mental health issues. Neurodiversity is a huge piece that really hasn't been addressed in a lot of areas. So helping a lot of people with tutoring supports. We have a lot of people who are dyslexic, so they're not able to read the material, but they understand the material. So we help them with text to audio supports, and we just help them be able to bring themselves to school in a way that makes them confident and helps the teachers as well. And then we also look at the employment side, because they have to go back and forth from job site to education. And a lot of times we're helping people on the job site with physical ailments, or again in learning capacity, and just helping communication between the employer and the apprentice as well.
Is there a lot misunderstood in this area and a lot of myths to be busted? Talk to me about that.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, for sure. But coming from a place where I do understand disability, I think there's just a lot to learn. And there's a lot to learn for me still. We actually just came out with a phenomenal toolkit. It's called the Disability Confidence Toolkit. It's for employers, and it really helps understand more about disabilities and how we can make people feel more confident and more included in the actual workplace.
Well, that's a great tool to have in the toolbox.
That
for sure, right?
It is for sure.
Yeah.
You're right.
Now, of course, obstacles, barriers are one side of the equation, but there's got to be tremendous opportunity there as well. Talk to me about that.
Tremendous opportunity. So the whole point is that we're removing those barriers in order to be able to make sure that people can bring their best selves to work. So we had a gentleman just several months ago, and he has 6.5 fingers on his hand, and he's going in for a heavy equipment operator. And for his whole life, he's taken his 6.5 fingers and he's putting it into a glove for 5 fingers, because that's a traditional glove. So we were able to get an assessment and get a glove handmade, no pun intended there, for him, to fit him, so he could bring himself confidently into the workplace and have something that was made for him. And that is true success, to be able to have people be themselves at work.
You must be in a place where you see success stories every day. That must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I see success stories most days, and it sure is a great feeling. And a lot of times people don't necessarily want to identify with a disability, and I try to phrase it that it's not necessarily a disability, but a barrier, right. And making people feel confident enough and comfortable enough to say, you know what, these are my issues, how can you help me with that? That is a win in itself, to be able to make that connection, and then to be able to help solution that, and then really talking to the employer or the educator or whatever their community representative may be, to be able to get that into fruition and get it going forward. That's another win-win too. So
correct me if I'm wrong, you help individuals sort of with their journey, but also help companies, institutions, and so let's focus on the individual for a moment. How does somebody access your services and get help? How does that happen?
Yeah, great question. So CCRW on a whole, we take anybody who has any sort of disability, and we use the social model of disclosure. So we do not require a letter from a doctor or any sort of medical clearance. We just go on the social model. and they come to us and we do a quick back and forth of seeing what their needs are and seeing if we can help. For the Apprentice First program that we have, it's a simple little survey monkey. They come in, and what the name and information goes into our database, and an accessibility consultant like myself will reach out to them.
And on the employer side or the institution side, how's that look?
Yeah, so we talk to educators, we talk to employers. So, if an employer has 100 apprentices and they're like, we have these apprentices, but we don't know, right? So 27% of individuals in Canada identify with having a disability, and 80% of those people, the disability is invisible, right? So you never know. So they often say, okay, everybody, all apprentices, here's the information. If this is something that you think is, would be applicable to you, please go ahead and come and look for these services. And then we interact with the apprentice that way. And we're apprentice first. So if the apprentice came to me and said, I have MS, but I do not want my employer to know, or I do not want my educator to know, then we encourage disclosure, but we do not disclose for the individual unless they're willing to do that.
And you're in a beautiful space right now. There's no doubt in my mind. This is sounds like a great place to be. And it's so important, right, to understand that everybody is different, learns different, treats work differently. And we say that a lot, but I'm not so sure that we take it to task very often. It's great to see an organization like yours right in the middle, kind of pulling on all those strings to make sure that they work. So the mining sector, talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing here and the excitement around that for you.
Yeah, so I have to be totally honest, this is my first time at the MineX trade show. It's a wide open space for me, and I've learned so much in the last couple of days. I think I always use the term like, oh, you're sitting at a gold mine, and I had no idea that we were sitting at a gold mine here in Newfoundland, and it's beautiful. And there's so much industry, there's so much passion, and there's so much space for growth, and there's so much space for people with disabilities to be involved. And I already know there's so many people that do have disabilities or barriers that are already here that could maybe just use a little hand or maybe just use a solution, and they may not know that that solution is right around the corner.
Yeah, I love the way you describe that and the way your eyes light up. I mean, you're looking at truly a blank canvas here, right? And
absolutely.
This is a great place for you to be in. Listen, I want to thank you for your conversation. Very important work that you're doing, and it's important that we get this conversation out there so that people can access it and feel comfortable accessing it and sort of walking through this journey and knowing you're not alone. You have people like you, right?
Absolutely, and knowing you're not alone and knowing there are people to support you is the biggest piece.
On behalf of our good friends at Raleigh Drilling Services, thank you very much for joining the conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.